"Mom, do you think he'll come?" The frail voice barely carried across the sterile hospital room, but it was filled with hope. Lisa Reynolds looked down at her son, Nathan, a 10-year-old boy whose small frame was nearly swallowed by the hospital bed. His skin was pale, his eyes a little too sunken for his age, yet they shone with the kind of innocence only a child could possess. She forced a smile, brushing a hand over his thinning hair. "We'll see, sweetheart. He's a very busy young man, but we'll try our best." Nathan had been fighting leukemia for the past 2 years. Despite the endless treatments, the nights filled with pain, and the moments where he seemed too weak to even lift his head, he held on to one wish, a wish that his mother hadn't been able to grant, yet he wanted to meet Barron Trump. Not because of politics, not because of fame, but because, in Nathan's words, he looks like the kind of guy who would understand. Lisa had written letters. She had reached out through social media, but she had little hope. Barron was the son of a former president, living a life worlds apart from theirs. Why would he even notice? And then, the phone rang. Lisa hesitated before picking up, her heart pounding. The number was unfamiliar. "Hello," she answered cautiously, that a deep yet warm voice spoke on the other end. "Ms. Reynolds, this is Barron Trump. I heard about Nathan, and I'd love to meet him." True to his word, Barron returned a few days later, this time with pizza, balloons, and a few small gifts. Nathan's room, once filled with sterile silence, now buzzed with laughter as Barron and a few of his friends made sure the boy had the best night possible. They played video games, talked about basketball, and even FaceTimed one of Nathan's favorite athletes, who wished him a speedy recovery. That Nathan's mother, Lisa, stood by the door, overwhelmed with gratitude. She had spent so many nights watching her son fight, feeling helpless. But tonight he was just a kid, laughing like he had no worries in the world. "I wish this night would never end," Nathan said, beaming. Barron ruffled the boy's hair. "Hey, this isn't the end. It's just the beginning. You and I, we're friends now, and friends don't disappear." Days turned into weeks, and Barron continued to check in on Nathan. The media caught wind of their friendship, and soon, messages of support flooded in from around the world. But for Barron, none of that mattered. It wasn't about publicity. It was about a promise. One evening, he received a call from Lisa. Her voice was shaky, but filled with emotion. "Barron, Nathan wanted me to tell you something." Barron's heart clenched. "Is he okay?" "He's tired, but he's fighting. And he wanted you to know, you changed everything for him. You gave him something to look forward to. Hope." Barron swallowed the lump in his throat. "No, Mrs. Carter. He gave me hope." As time passed, Nathan's battle continued, but his spirit never wavered. Inspired by their friendship, Barron started an initiative to support children with terminal illnesses, ensuring that no child ever felt alone in their fight. That Nathan's story became one of resilience, strength, and the power of kindness. One day, Barron received a letter, handwritten by Nathan. "Dear Barron, thank you for being my friend. No matter what happens, I want you to remember that you made my life better. And I think that's what being a hero really means. Your friend, Nathan." Tears welled up in Barron's eyes as he folded the letter carefully. Placing it in his pocket, he looked up at the sky, whispering, "You're the real hero, Nathan." And with that, he carried on, not as a politician's son, not as a public figure, but as a friend who had learned that sometimes the smallest acts of kindness leave the greatest impact. Lisa nearly dropped the phone. She clutched it tighter, her breath caught in her throat. "Did he just say, I'm sorry. Could you repeat that?" she stammered, afraid she had imagined it. "This is Barron Trump," the voice repeated, calm yet sincere. "I heard about Nathan's wish. I'd love to visit him." Lisa pressed a hand to her chest, overwhelmed by a mix of emotions. She had sent out so many messages, never expecting an actual response, let alone this. "Mr. Trump, I don't know what to say. Nathan will be over the moon. Please just call me Barron," he said with a small chuckle. "And no thanks necessary. Just tell me when I can come." Lisa's eyes welled up with tears. She turned to Nathan, who was watching her anxiously. "Sweetheart," she whispered, "Barron Trump is coming to see you." Nathan's face lit up with a brightness that outshone the hospital's fluorescent lights. "For real?" he whispered, as if saying it too loud would break the magic. Lisa nodded, her throat too tight with emotion to speak. Mom! Nathan exhaled, a soft, disbelieving laugh escaping his lips. This is the best day ever. But in the back of Lisa's mind, a harsh reality lurked. Time was running out. If Barron wanted to meet Nathan, he would have to come soon, very soon. Barron hung up the phone, his mind racing. He had met hundreds of people throughout his life. Diplomats, celebrities, powerful business figures. But none of them had ever made him feel the way Nathan's story did. He didn't know this boy personally, but something about his wish struck him deeply. Maybe it was the sheer innocence in wanting to meet him. Maybe it was the way the world seemed to have turned against Nathan, leaving him with nothing but a handful of hopes. One thing was certain. He couldn't waste a second. I need to go to New York, he told his personal assistant. New York? Why? What's the rush? I don't have time to explain, Barron replied, already pulling on a jacket. Just book the soonest flight possible. His mother, Melania, overheard the commotion as she entered the room. Barron? What's going on? He turned to her, his expression more serious than she had ever seen. Mom, I need to do this. There's a kid in the hospital, and he doesn't have much time. I promised I'd visit him. Melania studied her son, a flicker of pride in her eyes. Then go, she said simply, and make sure you keep that promise. Lisa paced the hospital room anxiously, checking her phone every few minutes. Nathan had fallen asleep, his small chest rising and falling in shallow breaths. Dr. Patel, Nathan's primary physician, walked in, glancing at the monitors. His expression was neutral, but Lisa had learned to read between the lines. How is he? She asked softly to Dr. Patel hesitated before answering. He's tired. His body is slowing down, Lisa. His voice was gentle but firm. If there's anything he still wants to do, now is the time. Lisa gripped the bed's railing. Barron is coming. Her voice wavered. He's on his way. The doctor gave a small nod. Then let's hope he gets here soon. She turned back to her son, brushing a tear from her cheek. Hold on, baby. Just a little longer. Barron's plane touched down at JFK Airport just past noon. The moment the wheels hit the runway, he was already unbuckling his seatbelt, eager to get off the plane. His security detail, used to a structured schedule, struggled to keep up as he rushed through the terminal. The car is waiting outside, one of his guards informed him. Good, Barron replied, barely acknowledging them as he strode forward. Let's go. The drive to the hospital was agonizingly slow. Traffic crawled through the city streets, each red light feeling like an eternity. Barron clenched his fists, staring out the window. What if he was too late? Come on, he muttered under his breath. Finally, the car pulled up in front of Mount Sinai Hospital. Before the driver could even park properly, Barron was already out the door. His security rushed to follow him as he entered the lobby. A nurse at the front desk looked up, startled. Oh my, Mr. Trump? I'm here to see Nathan Carter, he said urgently. Can you take me to his room? The nurse hesitated for just a second before nodding. Of course. Follow me. Lisa sat beside Nathan's bed, holding his frail hand in hers. His breathing was weaker than before, his face pale against the white hospital sheets. Nathan's sweetheart, she whispered. Someone very special is here to see you. Nathan's eyes fluttered open slowly. He looked at her with exhaustion and confusion. Then the door opened. Barron Trump stepped inside, his tall frame momentarily silhouetted against the bright hallway light. His usually composed expression softened the moment his eyes fell on the boy in the bed. That Nathan's eyes widened. No way, he breathed. Barron smiled and stepped closer. Hey, Nathan. The boy let out a weak laugh. You really came. Barron nodded, pulling up a chair beside the bed. Of course. A guy like you deserves a visit. Lisa covered her mouth, overwhelmed with emotion. She had been afraid that this moment would never come. But here it was, her son, smiling again, if only for a little while. Nathan's eyes shimmered with a mix of disbelief and excitement. He looked up at Barron as if trying to confirm that this moment was real. You actually came, Nathan whispered, his voice barely audible. Barron leaned in slightly, his expression soft but sincere. I wouldn't miss this for anything, buddy. Nathan let out a weak chuckle. I thought you'd be too busy, with important stuff. Barron smirked. What could be more important than meeting a kid as awesome as you? Nathan's smile widened, though his breathing remained labored. His mother, Lisa, wiped away tears, overwhelmed by the kindness unfolding in front of her. Barron took a deep breath before saying, I heard you're a big basketball fan. Nathan's eyes lit up. The biggest. I love the Knicks, but they break my heart every season. Barron laughed. Tell me about it. I've got a few friends in the league. Maybe I can get them to send you something cool. Nathan's jaw dropped. No way. Barron confirmed with a grin. But only if you promise to keep fighting, okay? Nathan hesitated, the excitement dimming just a little as reality settled back in. He looked down at his frail arms. I'm trying, he admitted. Barron reached out and squeezed the boy's hand. I know you are, and you're stronger than you think. Nathan took a slow breath and nodded. Lisa, standing silently at the foot of the bed, felt a wave of gratitude wash over her. He didn't have to be here. Barron Trump, the son of one of the most famous men in the world, could have ignored her email. But he didn't. He came, and for the first time in a long time, she saw a spark in her son's eyes that she thought had been lost forever. Nathan gripped Barron's hand a little tighter, as if holding on to a moment he never wanted to end. His mother, Lisa, wiped away a fresh tear, overwhelmed by the kindness before her. So, what's it like being you? Nathan asked, tilting his head curiously. Barron chuckled. What's it like being me? Well, people always have something to say, whether they know me or not. Nathan smirked. Yeah, I know the feeling. Barron gave him a knowing look. Yeah? Tell me about it. Nathan shifted slightly on his hospital bed, staring at the ceiling as if gathering his thoughts. Ever since I got sick, people treat me differently. Like I'm just my illness. Like I stopped being me. Barron nodded. I get that. Sometimes people see just a name or a title, not the person behind it. Nathan looked at him for a long moment. But you're here, and that means something. Barron's smile softened. You mean something, Nathan. For the first time in a while, Nathan didn't feel like just a patient. He felt like a kid talking to a friend. As they talked, the afternoon sun dipped lower in the sky, casting a warm glow into the hospital room. The conversation flowed easily. Nathan sharing stories about his favorite basketball players and Barron talking about his experiences growing up in the spotlight. Do you ever get scared? Nathan asked suddenly, his eyes searching Barron's face. The question hung in the air, raw and real. Barron hesitated, then nodded. Yeah, I do. Everyone gets scared sometimes, but it's about what you do with that fear. Nathan looked thoughtful, his small fingers fidgeting with the edge of his blanket. I'm scared a lot of, not getting better. Barron leaned in closer, his voice steady. I think you're one of the bravest people I've ever met. You're fighting every day, and that takes a kind of strength most people never have to find. Nathan's eyes glistened, and he blinked quickly. You really think so? I know so, Barron replied firmly. Lisa, who had stepped out to give them a moment alone, returned with a smile that wobbled at the edges. Nathan, honey, Barron probably needs to get going soon. Nathan's face fell slightly, the spark of joy dimming. Barron noticed and quickly said, Actually, if it's okay with you, I'd like to come back. Maybe bring some of my friends, have a little pizza party right here. What do you think? Nathan's eyes widened, a grin breaking through his tired features. You do that? Absolutely, Barron said. But you have to save me a slice. Deal? Nathan laughed. Deal. As Barron stood to leave, he squeezed Nathan's hand one last time. Hang in there, buddy. I'll see you soon. The promise hung in the air, a thread of hope weaving through the room as Barron walked out, his heart heavier, yet fuller than it had been when he arrived.